Hello, welcome to Giant Parenting. Standing on the shoulders of giants, learning parenting principles from successful people. Hi, this is Claire. How are you guys doing? Yes, so we are back here for another episode. Now, one question which many of you guys might have been asking yourself is, what is so hot about Montessori education? We hear so many stories about it. How Prince George is attending a Montessori school, how the founders of Google are so-called Montessori children. So to find out more, I have signed up myself a short course on Montessori's at home from 0 to 3 years old at the Maria Montessori Institute, just to find out what exactly is Montessori, what are the principles, and what scientific evidence are there for its effectiveness, and most important of all, how to implement it at home before my child can go to a Montessori children's house. So in this video and a couple of videos to follow, I'm going to share some of the learnings I have found. So, I have to say, I personally find the course to be very interesting. It's a very comprehensive course about what exactly is Montessori, and there are many underlying principles which you can implement as a parent, no matter whether you want to follow Montessori education or not. So let's get started. What exactly is Montessori education? I think the first image comes into mind when you talk about Montessori education is the classroom. It's the well-prepared environment, all the materials which are neatly organized and ordered by subject. And I have to say, if you have OCD, you will love the place. And second come to mind is those huge child-sized furnitures. And the next point which comes to mind when we talk about Montessori is the mixed age classrooms, where they have children from 2.5 years old to 6, from 6 to 12, I believe. And lastly, I know Montessori, they don't have a curriculum. It's more about student-led learnings rather than having a teacher like the traditional education where you have a teacher in front and teaching certain topics. Montessori is all about free learning. How is that going to be helpful to me as a parent? Well, after the course, I believe the fundamental principles which I learned from Montessori is self-formation. We were born as immature human beings with our huge heads, so we can't really stay in mommy's tummy for too long. So all human babies are born prematurely. And the first 3 years in life is actually the time when we'll still keep on develop the most important organ of human life, our brain. So Montessori is about self-formation, the journey to build from dependence as infant to independent, and later on to interdependent. This idea actually is very nicely summarized by Steve Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which you can find a nice introductory video in the link below. And the idea is for the first 3 habits to develop self-mastery, therefore from dependent to independent, and the later 3 habits is to develop how to work with others, i.e. interdependent. So with these principal ideas in mind, I was thinking, so what's the best way to help Daniel, my son, develop this journey from dependent to independent to interdependent? So I did some digging, and one solution which I find, which we have implemented, was attachment parenting in the early days. So attachment parenting is about breastfeeding, co-sleeping, and baby carrying. I believe attachment parenting not only forms the foundation of a strong relationship between me and Daniel, it also provides a blueprint for future close relationships. It teaches him to be comfortable and confident, to develop close relationships, and to maintain a deep relationship with others. So that was the first step to maintain the good dependent stage. And what next? Independence. How do you allow or train or encourage a baby to become independent? Well, the Montessori recommendation was to, as early as possible, encourage them to take care of themselves, self-dressing, self-feeding, and working around the house. So I know most of the time he's not doing it perfectly, and it was so tempting to just want to do it for him, to get him dressed, get him fed, and do not allow him to touch anything in the kitchen or the bathroom or being helpful. But it was really important to develop the sense of self-achievement when he is able to do it through practice. So it is crucial to help him to develop this I can do attitude, which helps him to move from the dependent to independent stage. In addition, we learn to prepare our home so he is free to explore any rooms by himself at any time. Of course, daddy's study is always off the limit. Well-prepared environment helps him to develop the independent learning which he will need in the future as well. The self-motivation to be able to focus and then concentrate on the things which interest him at each time. He comes with this innate ability to learn and explore, to experience the world around him, and it is really important to allow him to be able to do this freely. So that's why I think Montessori got it right over there by preparing a good environment for them to explore. I think interdependent is the ultimate goal for any human relationship, and the most healthy, of course. It is important to not be dependent on others and to be solely independent, so you have yourself in your own bubble, but be able to work with others and to develop this interdependent capability. So how we do this? We try to help him to develop interdependence by doing things together. So when there's tasks which are outside of his capability, we have this attitude of we do this together. He is not dependent on daddy or mommy to do it for him, and he is not counted to have to try to do it himself independently. But we have this collaboration to work together and get the job done. And in the future, I think once he is able to attend the children's house, it will further develop his interpersonal skills by working with older children and to learn from them. And it is good for older children to learn but help others as well. So that's some of the fundamental principles which I really appreciate from Montessori education. And how do we know whether their method works? I think the best way to understand this is to learn a little bit about neuroscience, how our brain is developed from 0 to 3. I will put this in the last section of the video for parents who are interested, and for those who are not so interested in the science, just to know they need positive, purposely repeat experience to be able to build the connections they need for their brain development. So, as parents, we should always ask ourselves, am I providing the positive, purposely repetitive experience which my children need in order to make those strong connections for his brain development? And as what we have mentioned before, one key aspect of Montessori education is the thoroughly prepared environment. Not just the physical surroundings to make sure it's safe and rich, but also it's the person who is spending the time with the children. It is important for us as parents to not hinder the curiosities or the interest of our children by saying, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, no, that's not safe, or no, that's dirty. So it is very important for us to stand back and observe what interests our children the most and encourage them to focus and explore more and to have this full-on experience to be able to know what is it like to live in the real world. Okay, therefore let's recap what we have learned. First, we learned why I think Montessori is a good idea. It focused on the journey of self-formation, from dependent to independent to interdependent. It is crucial for us to always ask ourselves, am I helping my child to carry the unique task which is required for him or her to complete his or her self-formation? Am I hindering the development from dependent to independent to interdependent? And if we know what we are doing is right, repeat it purposefully. So it will build a strong connection in your child's brain. And if it is something actually you realize not the best strategy to help your child to self-formate, then stop doing it and don't worry too much about it, because for the weaker connections will be washed out from 2 to 3 years old. So I hope this video helps, and if you have any questions or any comment, please leave me a message and I would love to discuss any questions or any experience tips you have for all of us here. Thank you and bye bye. Okay, let's talk about how our brain is developed from 0 to 3 years old. So at birth, a child has about 100 billion neurons. That's all the neurons he will ever have. The actual number of neurons in each brain is different due to the genetic blueprint of each person, and that will account for 20% of the intelligence. The other 80% of intelligence is actually contributed by the number of connections each neurons have with each other. From 0 to 2 years, that's when a child would build most of their connections. By age of 2, a child would build about 15,000 connections for each neuron to other neurons. That's about the twice amount of adult humans. The reason why they have so many connections built was because it was very crucial for them to be able to learn and absorb everything around them, the experiences and all the learnings, so they will be able to adapt into a life outside of the room. Imagine yourself going to a foreign country where you don't speak the language at all and you don't know the culture, the custom. Whatever you thought was true before, for example, a fork was used for food, but was totally different in this country, which fork was actually accessory. So it was important for you to learn and absorb everything around you so that you can quickly adapt into that country. However, after you wash out some of the weak connections which has been made but not used frequently. So this process is called pruning. It was very comforting to learn that child will undergo the pruning process from 2 to 3 years old, because I know as parents there are times which you would make mistakes which you regret. If it has only happened rarely, don't worry about it. It will be pruned out. The important thing is to build strong connections, lots of strong connections. And that's where it is important to provide a positive, rich and safe environment for your baby in the first few years. Okay, I think I'm done. Yeah.